What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, if you couldn't tell by the huge teeth, is another great frontman. Not as great as Pops up there, Diamond Dave, but, of course, the Freddie Mercury puppet. Look at the chompers. Undeniable. And, of course, it should be undeniable that you're looking at your boy, Rexx Ruger. This is Pod Scum, where all the cool kids come to chop it up. You might also know me as Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, Mr. Wop, Bop, Baloo, Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot damn. Oof. I'm feeling good. No doubt I'm going to take a time out here to admire the view that the rock star god, David Lee Roth Jr., has bestowed upon me, his only son that we know of. And, of course, when I need help with the Roth quaff, this is where I go. The go-to. The GOAT. Now, mind you, you won't look this good if you use that stuff, but you'll up your game. You'll up your street cred, as the kids say nowadays. Got another great guest. This episode brought to you by Windshield Washer Fluid. It's good to drink. Shout out to a local convenience store here, Stewart's, that makes this fantastic blue raspberry refresher. This is basically just sugar water. And I don't want people to think, oh, Rexx, you're never going to keep your amazing rock star good looks that way, drinking that stuff. I only indulge once in a while. I buy those very few and far between. Used to be hooked on them, but I got help. I got help, man. I think I kicked him. While we wait for my guest, let me get some of the obligatory promotional stuff out of the way. Make sure to like and follow Pod Scum on Facebook. As of right now, it is December 4th, Wednesday. I just put up a new kick-ass episode just with Mike DeLeon of Soulfly, Flesh Hoarder, and Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals. Mike, an amazing shredder. Fun conversation with him. Excuse me, that was rude. I'm glad I got that out of the way before my guest got on here. Guy's a rock star, man. Much like myself. And I should have a little more couth. And let me also say that like and subscribe to the channel as well. My guest is here, so I'll shut up. We'll let him do some talking. No front man steals the show on Rexx, though. As good as this guy is. Zach!
Yo!
Can you hear and see me all right? I'm just pinning you on there, man. Hey, man, you know what? I want to say, man, thanks for doing this. It's a real honor getting the chance to meet you, man. Thank you.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. Anything to help get the word out about the band and my music, it's awesome. Checked out your podcast.
Are you wearing a winter hat particularly because it's cold where you are?
It's cold where I am. Yeah, it certainly is. I'm also wearing it because I don't know about you. You're a long hair too. But I have certain times that if I don't have the stocking cap, my hair it gets a little frizzy and out of control.
Yeah.
As opposed to looking like I crawled out of a dumpster, I'm going to try to wear a stylish little hat.
Well, I would like to add the caveat here that, as you probably well know, being a guy that works in the entertainment industry, everybody out there nowadays with access to a laptop and a microphone is a podcaster nowadays. So the caveat is, and I'm pretty sure that I've spilled the beans just in things that I've said on here and how delusional I've acted. But my shtick is to claim that I'm Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. because he has no documented children. So this, my friend, is not my real hair. This is the lengths I go to provide an awesome show.
I love it. You got to do what you got to do, man.
I got to do what I got to do. I got to be delusional and think I'm Diamond Dave Jr. So, but here's one thing I want to jump in right away and ask you because I'm fascinated, man, because you are such a prolific songwriter, man. On the serious side, man, what's the feeling like? Because I'm not a musician. When you write a song like Sister that people are, and I was perusing it today on the internet, in the comment section, it means so much to so many people for so many different, I was reading on there, somebody with a special needs sister, somebody whose sister went away to college and sent them the song. You know, I mean, it stayed with them for 30 plus years afterwards, man. Is that satisfying as a songwriter? That's got to be like the cream of the crop to have a song still resonate like that.
Yeah, man. Look, it's an interesting question, and yes, you just reeled off a few. And trust me, dude, in the life of that song, since it was written in 1993,
Yeah.
So it's a 30-year song, 30-year-old song. I mean, I've heard all those things you just said, and you don't even know how many more. My brother, it was in Afghanistan, came back. There's a story that I won't go deep into, but it was really satisfying for me because a soldier in Afghanistan, a long time ago, back in the 90s, listened to our music in the desert. He said, your music helped keep me alive. And he handed me a pair of combat boots that he wore in the desert. And
Wow.
I wear those combat boots at every Nixon show, including the next one we got coming up in Oklahoma City. So yeah, man, it's cool to have that song. I weirdly have a few of them. I wrote a Carrie Underwood song with Carrie called Temporary Home. And it's, you know, it's got some tough parts to it about, you know, a woman in a shelter with her daughter and a kid in a foster home. And so I've actually kind of tapped a few of those things. The last thing I'll say is, I'm involved with the Tennessee Innocence Project. I'm only bringing this up because the gala was last night here in Nashville.
Oh, please. Yeah.
And they had me write with a couple of exonerees, you know, people who had been in prison for 30 years. And
yeah,
we listened to their story, and then me and a couple other songwriters went and wrote them. Last night at the gala, we unveiled the vinyl with the 2 songs on it, the little 7-inch vinyl.
That's
nice. Beautiful artwork. And so I was just telling people at that event last night, I've been lucky enough to have a few songs in my life that feel like maybe they're helping a little bit. Usually I write some dumb rock song, and those work too.
Those work too. Yeah.
But it's pretty cool, man. I appreciate you bringing that up because
yeah,
as a songwriter, you don't always get to do that. You don't always get to use your craft to actually, oh, wait, we're going to do some good. We're going to like get these people's stories out there to the world, sell a little vinyl, make a little money. So it's pretty great, pretty great.
And I don't want to, and I certainly don't want people to think like, oh, I mean, like I love all the albums, man. I mean, you know, sometimes I think bands get pigeoned, and you could probably expound on this more, as a quote unquote one-hit wonder, which I absolutely fucking hate, because sometimes just that one song can have done more in their career than, you know, albums and albums by other people.
We were just on this, I can't remember the website. I think we posted it on the NIXONS socials, but we were on the short list of one of those magazines, you know, Loud, whatever. And it was the 4 90s bands that should have been bigger.
Yeah.
It wasn't worded like a one-hit wonder, but it was pretty funny. My buddy Sponge, who we've played a bunch with, love Vinny, they were on that list too. Hum was on the list. And so I made some comment, well, first of all, we did have a couple other songs that actually did nearly as well as Sister. We were more known for that one because it got all the MTV airplay. By the time Baton Rouge came, MTV was slowing down a little bit, supporting rock and roll bands. So, but Baton Rouge was it was a #2 rock song. So technically we had a couple. And then for me, I say, you call us a one-hit wonder all you want. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there that try to make it in this business. And, you know, knock on wood, I'm lucky enough to be a, 50-something-year-old man, and I'm still writing songs every day for my main gig. So yeah. Call it the last album, whatever you want.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the last album of new material from the NIXONS was around 2000, 2001?
Oh, so no. So what happened is we reunited in 2017.
Okay.
We released, you can find all this. It's all on all the platforms. Just go hit Spotify, Apple, however you listen to music. And we actually have released, 2 EPs, Sonic Boom and Kaleidoscope, each with 5 songs. And I can break a little news. I don't know when this will air.
Oh, I always have them up within a couple of days, day or two.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then well in advance, because it's next year. We're going to be releasing another EP of new music. I'm actually excited about it. It's with Pavement and Megaforce Records, which is the biggest platform we will have been on since the 90s. So they're excited about the new music. I am too. And so, yeah, just go follow the NIXONS on socials and keep in touch with us, because we got new stuff out there and new stuff coming.
And now what about touring, man? Because you have done this for so long, man. I know, being a 51-year-old guy, after a day of work, man, and I don't travel, or I'm not a musician, but, when I come home from work, I like my creature comforts, man. Does it get harder as you get older to pull yourself away and want to go tour? And what's a comfortable itinerary? Yeah.
Good question. And I will tell you this, because I actually have a publishing company that not employs me, but I have to answer to. I have to write songs in this town, and I travel some too, but mostly I'm writing in Nashville, and that's my day job, to be honest. Now I will tell you this: we went out with Everclear and Fastball for about 7 or 8 weeks, and one broken finger later, and a few stints of losing my voice. I looked at my wife and I was like, that was fun. I was in a tour bus for 2 months, but I'm never fucking doing that again. So and by the way, never say never. I mean, if we got the right offer, who knows what we might do. But for right now, I'm pretty content to do some shows in the markets that we know we can hit. We like to go play, the Midwest a little bit and do some, decent sized gigs. We're doing a gig, probably will have already happened by the time people see this, but the 60th anniversary of the Diamond Ballroom, which is kind of an iconic venue in Oklahoma City, with Sponge, aforementioned Sponge, and Aranda. And that show is going to be a big one, like a packed house, and those are fun. So to talk about the parameters you just set, if I can fly to Oklahoma City, go see my mom and pop, and then drive down, play a gig, I'm happy with that. Again, the right tour comes along, who knows what'll happen, but that's where we are right now.
Is it tough as a songwriter ever? I don't know if there's a push and pull with this kind of dynamic, but when you write great songs for your own band, what's the process like when you're sitting down and you're really doing some great writing, but now it's a song for somebody else though? I mean, how do you feel about those songs? What's the attachment when you write a great song for somebody else?
Oh, they're all the same. I mean, they're all equally as important to me. I mean, I was really blessed to have a couple #1 songs over the last couple years with Aaron Jones, a song called Blood in the Water, and then a song with Shinedown called Dead Don't Die that went to #1. And are you kidding me? Those are like just as important as anything else I do. What I will say about your question is that when I'm writing, and we get lists, right? So it says cutting this week, Blake Shelton, Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, and you do have to use a different part of your brain to aim towards that. You have to know, okay, wait a second, this person I know doesn't drink alcohol, right? I know this person is probably not going to talk about sex, right. And so with the Nixons, what I'll say is, in this newly reunited form, it's been about as cool as thing ever, because I can come up with a wild ass song like the song called Kaleidoscope. That's not going to get picked up by another artist. Right. I'm not saying I'm sort of dumping it on the Nixons, because I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs I've written in the last few years. But the thing is that it's a really cool outlet to be able to just go, you want to write something mid-tempo that goes on for 6.5 minutes? Right. Go for it. So it's in a weird way, it's been pretty liberating as a songwriter to have this old platform come back to life. So it's been really cool.
And what do you think, because the business has changed so much? This is kind of like a polarizing topic, man. Is it an LP world, man, or does it make more sense to do EPs nowadays? Or singles even?
I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. I would love to do an album. I really, really would. I grew up, we grew up in the same
absolutely
time, where I was a kid staring at the liner, pulling the sleeve of the album out, or the CD, or even cassette, whatever, and reading along to to Led Zeppelin or Van Halen or whatever. And so I love albums. I'm just going to tell you, practically speaking, Ricky, bass player, is in Utah. John and Jesse are in Oklahoma. I'm in Nashville. So we write really weird. I'll send an idea. They'll send me an idea. We'll trade voice memos. Johnny will go in and track the drums, and then send Jesse and Ricky the tracks, the drum tracks. They'll build on them, send it to me. I'll cut vocals here in Nashville. So, I mean, it takes us a while, dude. We're a pretty...
It's a process. It's a process.
Slow moving, a machine, the Nixons.
And now I usually, we got into talking about the fascinating, talking about Sister right away, man. But I usually start at the beginning though, man. Was there a specific album or an artist or a song that really lit the fire for you to want to do music? What kind of jump started it?
Well, a few things. Number one, I grew up in a little town called Ada, Oklahoma. 14,000 people. Country music was, suffocating at the time. But I will tell you that I don't have a lot of these moments that are like, like light bulb moments that I could remember because I'm old and I've been doing this so much. But
yeah, I get it.
In the back of my buddy Bart's older brother's car, and he plugged in a cassette, and a song called "Fool in the Rain" kicked in, and I thought, oh, okay, wait a second, this is something's. My brain started operating differently then, because I think I just heard. We had one of those radio stations that played Dolly Parton and Journey, and also Kenny Rogers, and and so I mean I love that about my upbringing, that I listened to every genre, but it was a really crystallizing moment there. And then the second thing was seeing, I'm not saying this because of what you said earlier, Van Halen, 1984, snuck out of the house to go down and see them in Dallas, Texas, and that was like, oh, okay. That's a gig. You can be a rock star, So there was a couple of those moments that were really crystallizing. And then I'll also tell you that being in college and being in a cover band, that you cut our teeth learning all those songs that you probably saw, when you go see your local band, the Replacements, The Cult, The Cure, REM. We did it all, and slowly got a little heavier and heavier and heavier. But yeah, man, it's all that stuff, right? It all informs us. But those "Fool in the Rain" and then Van Halen, one of my early concert memories. Yeah, that set me down a path, for better or worse.
And so I usually got a couple subjective ones I like to thread in here too. Do you remember a gig that you attended as a fan that really stands out? Somebody that you saw live that really wowed you, that the performance has stuck with you?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that, again, I talk about how lucky I feel to have come up at the time I did, when bands with guitars and bands that were played loud were the thing. And this is going to be random, and I'm not saying these bands were influences on our music. And if people are watching, they'll be like, when I say these two band names, they're going to be like, what are you talking about, Zach? You guys were a mainstream hard rock band. But in Norman, where OU was when I was in college, the Flaming Lips and the Chainsaw Kittens were bubbling, and probably just either getting a record deal or maybe not quite getting a record deal. And seeing those two bands, the Flaming Lips, they would do these shows where they would fill the room with fog, and they would have, during the course of an hour-long show or whatever, they had this strobe light that was like the size of a flat screen TV. Yeah. And they would only pop it like 4 times in the whole show. But that was incredible. Like, it rattled your brain.
It stays with you. Yeah.
And then the Tyson Mead, who's become a friend of mine, the singer for the Chainsaw Kittens, sort of slinky, androgynous, sort of rock star, like, just blew me away. So I will say that, in a weird way, the Lips and the Kittens kind of informed the early Nixons. I also always throw in the Who, although I've never seen the Who live, but just, we did all that stuff, dude. And in hindsight, was it kind of silly? Smashing guitars, lighting stages on fire.
Yeah,
it was probably a little silly, but you know what? When we reunited to play Edgefest in Dallas, don't think I wasn't diving into the crowd. So we're still rocking, and yeah, it was those early shows that inspired us to not shoegaze, to put on a show.
Right. Yeah, but you guys also were getting popular right around the pocket of when grunge was huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we got compared to those bands, and I always, people are like, oh, does that piss you off? I'm like, what? You think we sound similar to, Pearl Jam, STP? I mean, bring it on. I mean, better that.
At that point, you just had to fill your quota of flannel.
Yeah, we didn't quite do the flannel thing, but we definitely dressed the part. We were pretty ragged. Ragged.
Yeah. Now I got a list here, an incredible list. I think these are all verified. Great people and artists that you've got to write songs with. Is there anybody that you would care to shout out where the writing process was just smooth as butter? Just somebody that you really hit it off with and wrote great music with? I mean, there's a great list here. Carrie Underwood, Blake Shelton, Uncle Cracker, Tim McGraw, Hailstorm, A-Ron, we talked about. Dorothy, who I've seen in concert. She's great.
Man, this is going to be really, a bland answer, but all those people you just mentioned. And then I'm also very lucky to have just fallen into the right rooms, whether that's, you know, a guy named Tom Douglas here in town, who's in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, David Hodges. We actually, Hodges and I wrote, he was in Evanescence at the beginning, and he wrote a bunch of big songs, continues to, but he and I wrote a Shinedown song called Atlas Falls. That was another #1 song for them right in the middle of the pandemic. It was a cool story, by the way. I'll tell you that they call me and say, hey, we're going to remember that song you wrote 7 years ago, because that's how this silly business works. Atlas Falls. We're going to sell a T-shirt for $50 that says Atlas Falls, and people will get a free download of the song Atlas Falls. And it's going to go to frontline COVID workers. So this is during lockdown, and it's earned, last I heard, about $800,000 for frontline medical workers across the board. And it went to #1 because it's shut down, and everything they release basically goes to #1. So all those artists you mentioned, dude, how lucky am I? I mean, it's kind of insane, honestly.
So to answer my question, is there one that where the writing process was very cohesive, very easy? Does anybody stand out as someone that you just hit it off with and wrote great music with?
Well, Shinedown and us, and myself and my frequent collaborator, Blair Daly, we have a great thing going. And I should shout out Blair Daly. He and I write enough that our wives joke that we finish each other's sentences better than my wife and I finish each other's. But Blair Daly's a fabulous writer. He actually brought me in to write with Uncle Kracker, and we actually have a song on Uncle Cracker's latest album together called Rockabye. So, and Cracker's is the smoothest, coolest cat ever. But I will tell you that the Carrie Underwood writing session for Temporary Home was really special and really did flow. Like, basically, she goes, you know, I've been saving this thought, and I feel like I can trust you and Luke Laird, who we wrote with. And this was like the third day, so I guess we got in. We gained her trust. And so she said, I got this little idea that I've been having, that like how life is just temporary, and it's just this is just our temporary. She had been reading some book, and so I think I go, ooh. And one verse could be about a foster kid, and then someone else says, "Oh," and another one could be a mom with her daughter in a shelter. And then I kind of sheepishly, being new to country music, said, "Should the third verse be about a guy dying, an old man dying?" And Carrie just looked at me and said, "Yes, that is exactly right." So, I mean, I'm probably exaggerating, but I think we wrote that in an hour. It just kind of came. I'll also tell you that my band, Sister. I was driving to rehearsal, and I heard this instrumental part of the song, and I started singing, "Here I am again." I run in, I tell Jesse, because I wasn't a good enough guitar player quite yet, and I was like, where am I? And he found, and he's played a G, and then a D, and an E minor, and that song was written in, I mean, like I said, an hour maybe. I mean, and you have songs like that. You also have songs that, oh, hell no. This one's going to take 3 sessions, over the course of a month. But some of them come easy. And again, that's the luck, right? How lucky did I get to meet those guys in Norman, Oklahoma, and us gel so completely together such that we could write everything that we did. So yeah, I would shout out my band.
Is there anybody that you've gotten to meet, and because you have written with such great people, is there anybody that stands out that you got to meet where you were almost even a little bit starstruck, like kind of bowled over, like, wow, I can't believe I actually got to meet so-and-so? Is there anybody that...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I'll start sounding like a name dropper, but when we got to do Kiss, when they put makeup back on, and we played, I mean, dumb kids from Oklahoma playing Madison Square Garden in our 20s.
Yeah, it's a big deal to meet Kiss. Listen, man, Kiss, I talk to musicians on here all the time. Kiss is a lot of people's gateway drug. Look, like when I asked you that question about what kind of lit your fire to do music, Kiss comes up a lot in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, being backstage and for Gene Simmons to come in and say, "Hello, I'm Gene Simmons," and us just kind of go, "Yeah, we actually know who you are," was pretty cool. The other one that comes to mind is I was a huge Soul Asylum fan right when that Runaway Train, Black Gold. I think
they were great.
So we got to do West Coast tour, and listen to this one. This is kind of cool. It was that big album Soul Asylum had, and Radiohead touring the Bends and the NIXONS. And so to be final night of the tour and be sitting next to Tom York while he's bashing other British bands that are more successful than him.
Amazing.
Still seems surreal. Like, did that actually happen, or did I see that on a TV show? You know, so I've gotten really lucky. And the last thing I'll say about it is that I've also been lucky that I haven't really met many assholes. I could mention one, but I'm not going to mention their name. But I've only had really one, 90s dude that kind of thought that, maybe I didn't belong in the backstage area with him, even though we were opening for them. So I'll stop right there.
Yeah. Can you confirm or deny, was this person Mark Lanigan?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, because I read Mark Lanigan's book, which I always shout out on this podcast. His audio book is great. I know he's been kind of the story is a wild ride, man. But hopefully he was a good dude, man. Because I really love him, man. I do.
Me too. I think the world of that.
I love his voice.
So underrated, man. Speaking of underrated bands from that time, I mean, gosh, that Trees album with the hit and the songs they had on the single soundtrack. Some of my favorite from that time period.
And the good thing is Mark Lanigan wrote his book, but narrates his own audiobook. So here you are listening to his life story in this very Tom Waits esque voice. You know what I mean? It's nice. It really is. I might
have to check that out. I'm a big fan of his, and obviously
it's so great. The book is he wrote one after he came out of a COVID coma, a short one. But the life story one is Sing Backwards and Weep.
Ooh, love the tide leaving. Kick ass.
Fucking great, yeah. 11 hours of just hearing Mark Lanigan's life story. And the great part of it is about 2/3 of the book, I would say, is stories about him in shenanigans with either Lane Staley or Kurt Cobain. So there's a lot of meat and potato story, a lot of hanging out. So with two great legends.
Yeah, legends. You said it.
Yeah. And let me ask you another more specific question. Musical taste, man. When you're listening to music around the house for enjoyment, are you able to find new music or new bands that excite you or that you like, or do you tend to listen to stuff that you've known for a long time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to someone about this the other day. First of all, I do listen to an unhealthy amount of podcasts. So I make music for my job. So I do. Yeah. I have a couple go-tos, but it's an interesting thing because when we get in our car, it's got a screen and you can click, modern alternative. And my wife and I click on it and 3 songs, fast forward. Yeah. And then we just scroll up to the 90s alternative, and there we're back listening to Rooster again. So, I definitely do fall back into it. I will also say, however, people that know me as a rock singer will maybe be surprised, but I am a massive, massive fan of Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson, Brandi Carlile. I just think that their songwriting, all of them, is exquisite. I think Jason might be maybe the greatest living songwriter. All apologies to Bob Dylan because he's above the line. But so I do love that kind of stuff. That would be what's on in the kitchen while I'm scrubbing potatoes for dinner.
Now here's one that I feel like you will have a definitive answer on. Of all the guests, I feel like this one you won't deliberate on very long, man. If I were to take you, ZAC MALOY, drop you on a desert island and you can only take one album, what would be the desert island album?
Oh man, see, this is a classic question, right?
I know, and this is a shitty thing to do, man. Most people hate this question, man, but a lot of people are tethered to an album that they really, really love.
Well, I mean, look, I'm gonna say, even though Joshua Tree was like mind breaking for me when I was in college, but Tom Petty, Neil Young, Harvest Moon, maybe just because it's such high quality work and it's through and through. It's a great album. So those would be my 3 finalists. Maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So you'd have to die trying getting these at least 3 albums to the island.
There you go. Yeah. Surely I could sneak in 3. Come on, if I could
never just settle for 1.
Yeah.
And so the ingredients, because I think young artists would probably love to hear somebody that's been so prolific as yourself, what you would say. What are the ingredients of a good song, man? Where does it start, man? Because nowadays writing great You know, there's such an influx of stuff on the streaming platforms, new music on there every day. You can't consume it all, man. But great songs still do stand out in the music industry. What's the key to writing a great one? What comes first?
So I do have a good answer for this because I teach a class at Oklahoma State University. I teach via Zoom. We had our last class yesterday evening.
On songwriting?
Songwriting class. I teach at Oklahoma State. I told the guy I'm not moving to Stillwater, Oklahoma. I actually went to OU, the rival school, so there's no way I'm. But he said, no, we'll do Zoom, and I go to campus one time in person, which is delightful. A bunch of great young songwriter, up and coming songwriters, and so for the last class, I make my last class pretty easy. And so what I did about 4 days before class is I texted all the people you reel off. I texted Brent from Shinedown and Kevin Griffin from Better Than Ezra, David Hodges, Marty Fredrickson, who was my first co-write, who I still work with today. And I say, it's that time of year again. It's the end of the semester. Give me some songwriting advice. And the truth is, to answer your question, there's no one answer. And it's been beautiful to get these things. And it's great. Like Lizzie, she's a sweetheart. She says, oh, Zach, I love it when this time of the year rolls around. Tell them. And then she gave some really beautiful answer. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what the recurring thing is. And that is to do it every day, to write every day.
Yeah.
To always keep track of your ideas. I've got a file in my phone in my notes called songs, and there's probably 300 ideas. I've got voice memos that I think the last time I saw it was 2,330 or whatever. I record every little idea if I'm in a grocery store, if I'm driving down the highway. So I would say collaborate as much as possible, work hard every day to try to get better at your craft, and keep an open mind. That's a big one. A lot of the people said that, like pay attention to TV shows, pay attention to, movies. Dude, writing country music, I can't tell you how many times I paused Yellowstone and said, oh, like a cowboy should. How did he die? Like a cowboy should. So I'm constantly, so that would be a little bit of advice, but there's so much great advice to give. But those are a few.
I think people would be interested to know also, sometimes one of the hardest things can be putting a name on the band. Who comes up with the NIXONS?
Our band name before the NIXONS was "Is That an Animal?" ? Okay. And I've got a poster.
And who takes credit for that name? Is that the first name?
Okay, so this is so random. I'm reading an article like in whatever Details magazine about Stephen Wright, who I love, the comedian.
Great, yeah, with the low voice.
He's very dry. And dude, this is such a random thing, but we're trying to figure out a band name. I'm reading this article, and in the sort of the bolder highlighted part next to the photograph, he's being interviewed in a zoo for some reason, and he just turns to a cage and looks at, I don't remember what, and said, "Is that an animal?" And that's the name of the band. So to answer your question, the NIXONS, that was a list that I've probably still got of like a billion names. And we kind of just said, the NIXONS has an X in it. It looks cool with a big fat X.
Yeah, it does.
And it rolled off the tongue. Nothing political about it or us. It was just kind of a cool name at the time. So yeah, that's how that happened. We had to get rid of the "Is That an Animal?"
It's not throwing support for Richard Nixon. It just looks cool because there's an X in the middle of it. That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely, yeah, because it has an X in it, yeah.
And so when you sit down to write a song, yourself, delving in a little bit deeper to your own personal process, what comes first for you? As you were saying, you hum things in the phone, or you got files, or you're writing stuff down. What usually typically comes to you first? Is it a riff? Is it an opening line of a song?
Yeah, so it's always different, dude. It is always different. It could be Ricky sent me some music for a song that became Crutch from our first EP back in the new lineup. And then with Kaleidoscope, I'll just use that as an example. I just thought it was a cool word, and I sort of reverse engineered that song to say, well, what would that song be about? And so the chorus says, "You are your beautiful broken pieces held together by everyone who's ever helped you along the way." We're broken, but we're beautiful. You're my kaleidoscope. So that one was a little bit reverse engineered. With Sister, I had just popped a postcard in the mail to my sister who had just moved to LA, and it just basically said, "Hey, the miles, the distance between us can't keep us, you know, we're still locked in,
Wow.
you know, so all that. So that was sort of where Sister came from. I knew I wanted to write a song about my sister who I missed, quite simply. A lot of people read a lot into that song. I've heard you know, like one time I was on an interview and the guy goes, so now listen, is it true that your sister was a prostitute? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? No. Was she on drugs? What was it? And I was like, no, dude, she moved to California.
It was heartfelt. Yeah.
And
it was a heartfelt song.
What can I say?
And like coming full circle, like I said at the beginning of the interview, that song has resonated with so many people. I think when I looked it up today, hundreds of thousands of views on the video on there, and tens and tens and tens of thousands of comments on there of what the song means to people. It's crazy. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's just story after story after story. I mean, like I said at the top of the interview, it's got to be satisfying to write a song though, man. You know, even if some people aren't fortunate enough to even write just one, you know?
Right. Like I said, dude, call us whatever you want. You know, we've managed to stay in this. I've managed to stay in this business for a long time. So, and that song is the reason. That song got us a record deal with MCA. That song, you know, made us, you know, kind of put us in people's living rooms. You know, so yeah.
And so, what are the Nixons up to now, man? Catch people up to speed on how they find out what's going on with you guys and everything, man. So obviously, you guys are on the web. You guys are still out touring, right?
Yeah, we're playing, you know, gigs coming up. We'll have some at the beginning of the new year. We'll be back in Texas. But yeah, you just go follow us on Instagram. We don't do the X thing quite so much, but we're pretty active on Instagram and pretty active on Facebook, honestly. And so yeah, just go follow. Please go follow us, and you can keep track of what we're doing. But exactly what we're doing, as I mentioned, we're going to release an EP at the beginning of next year. It'll be preceded by a single. You know, we'll release a single first. I think it's going to be this really cool song about, I say cool, I should be careful there, because it's about a murder that happened when I was a kid in Ada that went on to become the subject of John Grisham's book, An Innocent Man, because there was a wrongly accused person. Wow, okay. Another wrongly accused story. But it's about this murder, and it's about the girl. She actually worked at a convenience store that I would go get, you know, magazines I shouldn't have been getting, and icy and some corn nuts that I looked into this girl's eyes, and then like a month later she was on the news, and so I wrote this song about it, and really proud of it. So I think that's going to be the first single. Not 100% locked and loaded on that, but it's cool. We got a couple of really cool songs on it. I'll also say that we've got a pretty cool heavy cover of The Seeker by The Who.
I love that song. I'm gonna go check that. Is that out right now, that single?
It's not out yet, but it'll be out next year, and you're gonna dig it, dude. I've already getting to know you the short time I have. We always thought it was funny how jangly that song was, so we just did it heavy as hell.
Yeah. I kind of like that loose, jangly kind of sound, man. Like, and again, I'll shout out Mark Lanigan's book. That's kind of where I really became hip to him talking up the Gun Club so much. And then I went and checked out the Gun Club's music, and they're a fucking great band.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And by the way, the Who's version of The Seeker is a classic. So I'm not dissing it. My point is that we wanted to put our own spin on it. We did the same thing with Rocket Man, which we released a million years ago. That's just like bar chords, no piano.
No, that Rocket Man is awesome though. I and that's one of my all-time favorite rock songs, man. So like I like seeing somebody cover that. I don't think a lot of people have really fucked with that song either, man. There's like the original, but there's not a lot of covers of it around.
Yeah, we play it every show.
They're not good ones.
Agreed.
And okay, so you know, obviously the Nixons are on the website. You guys are out touring. And let me just ask you before I let you go, as an older guy myself, you know, stuff doesn't always hold up as well when you get older. Now you were kind enough to just now when you were talking about Sister, you automatically sang a verse of it. Your voice sounds great, man. Do you feel like your voice is held up? Because there are people out there that have stayed too long to the party. Don't want to mention anybody's names, but there's footage going around of different bands that they can't cut the mustard anymore, and shame on them for taking people's money. But you sound great.
Well, dude, thank you for saying that. And I'm just going to tell you that when we reunited, I told myself, okay, we haven't played a show in 16 years. I'm not going to suck. I am not going to suck. Yeah. I'll just cancel the show before that happens. So I started, and I'm proud of myself for the work that I put in, but I started about 3 months before that first show coming up here. This is sort of my little man cave perch. And I did it last night. I'm getting ready for this upcoming show. For the last month, I've come up every night. My wife loves it. I disappear from downstairs from whatever's on Netflix. And I come up here, I pick up my guitar that's hanging on the wall, and I run through the whole set, all 80 minutes that we're going to play Saturday. And I will tell you that I think I have more control now and a little bit more range than I did back then, weirdly. Just because, again, 20s me.
You learn stuff.
I didn't warm up my voice. Now I warm up before I sing a demo. I warm up
along the way.
So yeah, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of the work we put in. We're going to be rehearsing for the next couple of days to get ready for this show, and we'll try to put on a rocking show.
Well, that song, man, is just, I don't know, man. I feel like the ingredients to a great song, man, are literally in that song, Sister. Another song that comes to mind was always Third Eye Blind's How's It Gonna Be. I like those songs that just build, you know what I mean? You know, they have a nice melody and a softness to them, and then they can build into something. You guys come very hard in that song, you know, in the chorus part. It gets heavy. Yeah,
man. I mean, those are kind of my favorite songs, right? That have a little bit of dynamics. Now, listen.
Dynamics.
We've got a couple songs that just plow the whole time, and I think you need those too. But I'm with you. I'm a fan of the slow build songs. You know, whether it's With or Without You by U2 or the song you mentioned. You know, I love those.
They rock out. Then they rock out somewhere along the line.
And they build. They build. Yeah, I love those.
Well, I hope to see you up in the Northeast sometime. I'm in upstate New York, man. So you know, if your tour ventures, you know, come out this way, man, certainly let me know, man, or I will go check your website. Like, how far does your do you guys? Where are you in the Midwest?
That's our biggest sort of our biggest market. I mean, we're from Oklahoma. We kind of broke out of the Deep Ellum area of Dallas. We got signed the same year as the Toadies and Deep Blue Something and Tripping Daisy. So we were part of that whole thing. So we can still go back and do pretty well there. We did do a package tour with Sponge, and we did make it up to Buffalo and to you know, New York City, and then all the way down the East Coast and over into the Midwest. Everclear was everywhere. Everclear started in Colorado Springs and went all the way to New York and Boston. So so when we do a tour like that, we'll go everywhere. But our definitely our home market is the Midwest and Texas.
Well, listen, man. I love what you've done over the course of your career. I love the music, man, and it was really a pleasure getting a chance to meet you and get some time from you, man. It's fun. Stay in touch, man. I'd love to do it again, man.
Man, I really appreciate it. I think you got a cool pod here, so happy to be a part of it. And send me the links or whatever I need to do to make sure.
I will get you hooked on it as well. I will get you hooked on it, especially now that I can see your weakness and that you're saying that when you're not making music, you're a sucker for podcasts. Yeah, I have great guests on, man. I have great guests. I'll send you all the past episodes. I'm sure you'll know plenty of people in there.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much, dude. It's so nice to meet you and chat with you. I appreciate you taking the time.
A pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Good talking to you, sir. Thank you. And there he goes, folks. The great ZAC MALOY, vocalist for the amazing the NIXONS. Man, the song Sister, man. For people out there that don't know, man, do yourself a favor, man. What a fucking song from the heart. Powerful fucking song, man. And the outpouring of people's feelings on YouTube about what the song means to them, resonating. That's what makes you a great songwriter, I think. If you could write one song like that in your life, that is a testimony to being a great songwriter. One that just gets its hooks in and connects with people for endless amounts of time. That song will always be found, and people will attach meaning to it. Thank you, ZAC MALOY from the NIXONS, man. Great to see that they're still out there doing their fucking thing. And the list that he's written with is crazy. Carrie Underwood, Blake Shelton, Uncle Cracker, Tim McGraw, Hailstorm, Aaron Jones, Dorothy, Black Veil Brides, Shinedown, Sponge, Saliva, Our Lady Peace, Three Doors Down, Daughtry, Better Than Ezra. Just tons of great collabs and writing with amazing fucking artists, man. ZAC MALOY from the NIXONS still sounds great, man. The NIXONS still sound great. Their last album was, I think, quite a while ago. I think they did an EP, Kaleidoscope, in 2022. Last full length was in 2000. But as Zach said, new music coming from them next year, another EP. It is an EP world, I guess, nowadays, man. I mean, fucking people just don't want to pay attention to a full album. People, come on. But EPs are what we get, man. We'll take a new one from the NIXONS, man. Such a pleasure. Thank you, ZAC MALOY. Make sure to like and follow PodScum on Facebook. As I was saying before the episode, let me pimp the product one more time right there. If you want the Rockstar, if you want the Roth Quaff, you can't have everything else, Roth, because it's genetics. You're not in the club. But thank you, ZAC MALOY. He's in the amazing frontman club of all time, along with me, the Freddie Mercury puppet, and Pops. And ZAC MALOY is now ingratiated into that club. Very, probably be a low point for him, actually. But he's amazing, man. The songwriting is amazing, man. If you don't know the NIXONS, check them out, man. They got a great discography, man, of just fucking great alternative hard rock, man. I don't know what else to say, man. Fucking another great episode in the books. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger, who is high as hell right now on edibles and absolutely loving fucking life. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in. And as I always say when I end these things, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.